Hey everyone, Derek here with a quick news update on even more of the Gigaleaks, and this is a compilation of a couple of days worth because, well, they're just still coming out and there's other news to capture and all of that, so here's just a highlight of some of the things that have popped up since our last update on all of this because, dear God, they just keep coming. So, let's dive into it. Alright, first up is a very early version of Hyrule Castle has been found in Ocarina of Time, and it's in the center of 4 massive walls with gates at each corner. Now that's cool in and of itself, but more interesting is that it now confirms where early screenshots of Ocarina of Time were taken from. We actually saw these gates in early screenshots before, the actual game, and of course they never actually appeared. Well, that's because that's what Hyrule Castle was surrounded by in this old build, so, that's pretty neat. But even more fascinating than that is that an early layout of the Ocarina Canyon well from Majora's Mask has been found in Ocarina of Time. So it looks like the Ocarina well was supposed to be in Ocarina of Time, or maybe the well in Ocarina of Time was supposed to look like that, and it was decided to change it up somehow, or maybe got cut entirely and then was just transferred over to Majora's Mask since there are a lot of Ocarina of Time assets within Majora's Mask. It's really quite something to see what came from one game and was repurposed for another. Continuing on with Zelda, there's work-in-progress photograph art from Link's Awakening DX, where you have all those fun little scenes between Link and Marin, and just in general without the game. The one in particular shows an early version of Marin falling on Link's back where he screams in pain, which, is always a lot of fun. And speaking of Link's Awakening, it was actually going to be called The Dreaming Island in the United States, as this is a direct translation of the Japanese title. But of course that was eventually changed, and there's a variety of different logo iterations of it as well. Moving on to A Link to the Past, there were some cut areas from that game that were shown off as well. Most interestingly, an early version of the Great Deku Tree, and of course that never actually appeared in the game and was instead moved over to Ocarina of Time, where he had a much more important role. Who knows what the role was supposed to be, but it appears to be more of a Dark World thing, as it does bear resemblance to the trees of that world and maybe had a connection to them in this early version. Hard to say for sure. But perhaps the most curious thing of all this Zelda stuff that's been discovered is that a Link to the Past map has been discovered that was made using Link's Awakening assets, and nobody really knows what this one's all about. Whether it's somebody who just did it in their free time, or a remnant of when Link's Awakening was supposed to be a port of A Link to the Past on the Game Boy, or something else entirely. It's hard to say for sure. But it's so interesting to see A Link to the Past represented like this in Link's Awakening. So yeah, just some strange stuff that keeps being found within this leak. But it's not only Zelda, as there's some Mario stuff in here as well, with early battle mode tracks being discovered in Super Mario Kart, including Course 4, a soccer stadium with references to goals in the code, so that could have been a different mode, and potentially another cut game mode, though it's unsure of what it could have been. It references a machine gun, but that's obviously very different. Maybe it's an early version of the battle mode where they used regular weapons rather than the Mario items that were eventually used in the final game. So just weird all around. Finally, there was evidence found that Rocky Wrench was actually going to be an enemy in Yoshi's Island, but rather than his usual appearance, he was going to be riding in a car that was extremely reminiscent to Fred Flintstone. It has the logs on the side, the stone wheels, all that stuff. So very strange indeed, and yeah, this leak just keeps giving more stuff, and it's all rather interesting to see the early versions of the games and how they ended up becoming what they were. So yeah, that's even more leaks, and they're probably still going to keep coming, and we're just going to have to keep up with them. But what do all of you think of this? Let us know in the comments, and of course be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Nintendo and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.